How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here with another cop or drop video. Cop means that you should get this card. It brings value to the game of Marvel Snap, and it will give you the dubs that you need in Conquest and on Ladder. Or it could be the exact opposite. It could be a dud. It could be a card that you should avoid like the plague, and you should save your resources for another card in a future of Marvel Snap. So we're gonna talk about Ajax, and then we're gonna go into some of the spotlights that are dropping this week, and then we'll go into the synergies, counters, and decks that Ajax fits into. So let's go right into it. Let's talk about Ajax. He is now a 5/7, and his ability is ongoing +1 power for each card in play afflicted with negative power. So before, when he was data mined, he was a 5/5, but I know there's some mixed reviews on this card. A lot of people didn't think that he was that good. I feel that being a 5/5, he should be like a finisher, right? I think he should be the opposite of Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh got changed so quickly. So I feel like Ajax is like the exact opposite of Gilgamesh in a way. So of course they changed it to a 5/7 before they had to change it as quickly as they did Gilgamesh. But overall, I think it's really good. It fits in to two like archetypes of decks, really, right? So overall, I think this card is pretty good, especially if you like Affliction like I do. That's one of my favorite archetypes in the game. I think Mill and Affliction, I just love like cards that just negate things on the other side or just messes up the opponent's game plan. And this is a perfect card for it that just capitalizes on that, right? So we're gonna go into the spotlights that are dropping this week as well, just in case you don't hit Ajax. And these are the spotlights that are dropping this week. Of course, we have Ajax. We also have Darkhawk and Beta Ray Bill. These are cards that you don't have. I think this is definitely a plus week for you. I think even if you don't have like if you don't get Ajax and you get Darkhawk or Beta Ray, those are still very good cards. Especially Darkhawk right now with all the Airshim decks that are running around. And Beta Ray Bill fits in a few archetypes as well. You could play it with Pixie, you could play it in an on reveal deck, and then if you got Blink a few seasons ago for the season pass, it goes well in the Blink deck too. I think this is still an awesome card. I just think there's so much stuff going on that this card might get lost, but it's a very sneaky win condition, very sneaky win card. So these are the cards that are dropping this week in the spotlights. I give this a A+ grade. I'm not sure if any other streamers or content creators will say that, but I give this an A+. This is actually a solid week to spend your resources, in my honest opinion. So let's go into the synergies. So next, we're gonna go into the synergies. Of course, we have the high Evo package, right? So we have Cyclops, Thing, and Wasp. They all afflict damage, and Ajax takes advantage of all that damage that's on the other side. And we also have cards like Scorpion, but the problem is the opponent has to choose whether or not they play those cards. You also have Spider Woman. She is pretty awesome on afflicting damage. But the problem is with that, she's also a 5 drop as well. So it's, I don't know, it's pretty awkward too. Like, do you just choose Ajax to be your finisher, or do you actually play him on curve? And then we also have Red Guardian. That could be pretty spicy too, especially if your opponent's playing something like Mystique or Iron Man on the other side. That as soon as your Red Guardian hits it, it's already at negative power. And White Widow is pretty spicy too, especially when you have that Widow's Kiss that's at -4. If they don't fill that lane, then of course Ajax takes advantage and gains 1 power for that Widow's Kiss. And then we have US Agent and Man Thing, Selene. They all inflict damage on the other end. That way your Ajax could gain that extra power. And there's some counters too, right? So counters for Ajax, of course, Rogue, Super Scroll, Enchantress, since Ajax is ongoing. And then you also have Shadow King. So if you afflicted damage on the other end and they use Shadow King, it goes away. If they're playing Luke Cage, it goes away. So all the hard work that you did with Ajax and afflicted damage just goes away. And it's not a good feeling. But we have some decks for Ajax that I think are pretty good. So let's get into them. So here is the deck we have a high affliction deck. We have Wasp, Hazmat, Rogue, Debris, Luke Cage, Cyclops, Shang-Chi, High Evo, Thing, Annihilus, Ajax, and Abomination. So the goal of this deck is to clog up everything with Debris, and then you utilize your affliction cards like Wasp, Hazmat, Cyclops, Thing, just to afflict damage on the other side. And then we're try to get Abomination as cheap as possible. That way you can play Ajax and Abomination on the final turn. Or if you don't have Ajax in your hand, you could just clean everything up with Annihilus and just throw it on the other side. We have Rogue just in case we're going against Mirrors. If they're playing Luke Cage on their end, we will Rogue their Luke Cage. That way they still get that afflicted damage. We have Shang-Chi just in case they go tall and you can't take them out. And that's pretty much it for this deck, just plain and simple. I had a version of this deck when High Evo was at its peak, and I ended up getting an affinity ticket with it. This is pretty close to that shell, but I might tweak this deck here and there. I think this is the only high Ajax deck I'm gonna play. Is pretty much High Evo. I might make a junk deck, but I think this one might be the best fit for him, and I'll make tweaks here and there. So, is Ajax a cop or drop? So let's see. So this card is definitely a cop for me. I really love affliction archetypes, so this is a must. I feel that this might be a card like the community might regret in the future, sort of like a cannonball situation, especially since we have like Cassandra Nova and other cards in the future that might help this card. I really, really think that it has a place in Marvel Snap. Even with the buff of 7, I think it's pretty good, especially if you could get your damage done and you could counter all the Luke Cages out there, because I feel like there's going to be a miniature Luke Cage meta where everyone plays Luke Cage just in case. But it's all good. You'll still win the games and get the dub. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this card. Is it a cop or drop for you? And what card you might be looking forward to instead of this one. If you want to save your resources for something else, what do you want to get? And till next time, be safe, keep on snapping, and peace.
Snap.